Hello, I'll be analyzing Rise of the Planet of the Apes to explore the portrayal of bioengineering and related issues in modern media. I'll be denoting the film's name as Rise for short. In this presentation, I'll be referencing specific clips in the film to support my argument that the film acts as a satirical social commentary and cautionary tale that criticizes new technology and scientists' ambition to alter or control the natural process of living and dying. So the film either aligns with people's fears that we're pushing the applications of science too far or challenges people's belief in the limitless potential of biotechnology. My next argument is that the course of events in the film won't likely happen, but nonetheless, the film still brings up relevant questions and debates that we as the general public should be thinking about. To frame my argument, I'll be introducing the background of the film to explore producers' and directors' intentions in making the film. Rise is a reboot of the Planet of the Apes movie series that was first released in the 1960s, and the socio-political environment in the US at the time was centered around fighting for the rights of African Americans and an awareness and fear of a potential nuclear war during the Cold War. Therefore, given the climate during the time of the film's release, it's difficult to dismiss the original series' social awareness as it explores power and race as well as drawing on the fears of a nuclear war. Rise, on the other hand, was released in 2011, and around the time in the 2000s, there were a lot of advancements within the genetic engineering community. There was the completion of the Human Genome Project, establishment of CRISPR, which is a revolutionary genome editing strategy. There was the first FDA approved gene targeted drug therapy to fight leukemia, the first FDA approved preventative cancer vaccine, which works by gene editing. It's called HPV vaccine. And there was also the creation of the first induced pluripotent stem cells. So, as a reboot, the director and producers likely had the intention of restarting the series with a different but relevant theme that reflects and challenges the current social attitude towards genetic engineering. The characters in the film include Will, who is a bioengineer driven to find a cure for Alzheimer's in the hopes that he can save his father, Charles, from this mentally debilitating disease. And Will believes he has discovered a cure through gene therapy research on chimpanzees, and the virus is called ALZ112, which allows the brain to heal itself at a cellular level. The virus has side effects of increasing memory, cognitive capacity, and intelligence. Caesar was born in the lab and has inherited the virus from his mother, and Will adopts him after his research gets shut down by Steve, who is the head of the Genesis Corporation. And Caroline acts as the one voice of reason, or the one voice of conscience, and is also a veterinarian and Will's girlfriend. There are a series of warnings throughout the film and also the trailer, and the trailer actually frames the movie by stating, "Our greatest discovery will become our greatest threat." The first clip I'll show you, it shows the extreme ends of the debate on ethics of genetic engineering.
I designed the 112 for repair, but Caesar's gone way beyond that. Here's his IQ from last year. Since then, it's doubled.
This is wrong, Will.
My father was gone. This drug brought him back. You never saw how bad he was. He has his life again.
What about Caesar?
What about him?
Where does he fit in?
With me? With us?
Listen, I know it's been hard for you, but you're trying to control things that are not meant to be controlled.
The 112 works.
So Will supports genetic engineering, and it's because he sees the potential of it greatly improving people's quality of life and delaying death. And he also views the unintended side effects of intelligent enhancement as a good thing, whereas Caroline views it as wrong. It's wrong that you're trying to control things that aren't meant to be controlled. So Caroline represents people's fear and claims that even if we do have the ability to push the boundaries of the applications of science, it doesn't mean that we should. This is a fictional reporting of Icarus, the space shuttle taking off, and later in the film, a magazine shows points out that Icarus is lost in space. So this compares the experimental procedure of gene therapy to the mythological character Icarus, who flew too close to the sun and drowned after his wings melted. So the film is drawing parallels that our scientific ambitions might be causing us to fly too close to the sun. In this scene, Jacob has died from exposure to the ALZ vaccine virus, and Steve has to face the harsh consequences of his overambitious research.
From a viral infection.
The hell are you talking about?
He was exposed to the 113. It does something to people that it doesn't do to apes.
So the movie ends with the apes thriving in their new habitat, whereas the human population, ironically, is decimated by the virus of its own making because it results in a pandemic. So this scene in particularly shows that continuously pushing the boundaries of biotechnology could result in crossing a thin line where the consequences greatly outweigh the benefits. And it also draws parallel to the questions raised with concerns in AI technology, where questions how far should we go before the AI is able to control us. And this film was released in 2011. So a valid question is, are these fears still relevant today? And I would argue that these fears and concerns of science developing too quickly and letting it get out of hand with unforeseen consequences do still exist. Like today, with the advancement in the mRNA vaccine and the introduction of the COVID-19 vaccine, many people are worried because the vaccine was developed so quickly, and it's also a new form of vaccine using new technology. So people are unsure whether it's safe. And my next argument is that the course of the events of the film won't likely happen, and that's because the research progression shown in the film was controlled by investors and businessmen who were driven by wanting a profit rather than being concerned about the safety or efficacy of the drug itself. Whereas in reality, bioengineering and biotechnology is a regulated industry. So that means that there's an independent body that can audit your activities, and the government sets regulations and policies that the industry must follow. So for the food and healthcare industry, it's regulated by the FDA. And the FDA sets guidelines that the industry must follow and in order. And they have to receive permission in order to move on to the next phase or step. So therefore, the FDA is given responsibility to check the safety and efficacy of the drug device, and then they do a cost benefit analysis to see if it's worth manufacturing. And the reasons for having all of this is to control the safety and quality of the drug. And this also makes it harder to create new drugs and diagnostic technology, new devices, etc. So because of this, it's very unlikely that the events in the film will happen. In addition, what is accurate though is the amount of time it takes for a trial to move on to the next phase. A preclinical trial involves researching biological functions and testing the drug using computer simulations and testing it on microorganisms in petri dishes. And then they do testing on animals, which this film covers heavily on, even though it's portrayed in a very negative light. And depending on the novelty of the drug design, it can take anywhere from 2 to 6 years of preclinical trials before the FDA may or may not approve it to move on to phase 1 of clinical trials, where the drug is tested on humans. So the fact that Will has been conducting preclinical trial research for 5 years, it's not that unusual for a new drug. In conclusion, this film warns us that in our search for bettering and prolonging the lives of humans, we must be wary of potentially causing the death of our society. And although the film is satirical and exaggerated for entertainment purposes, the social implications and ethical responsibilities it explores shouldn't be dismissed. And there are a lot of gray areas in the field of science or any industry, really. So we have the responsibility to be conscientious of any ethical considerations and even the social implications of our work. Here are the references for my research. Thank you.